Welcome to this explainer. Today we're tackling something literally every single one of us does, whether we like to admit it or not. Have you ever caught yourself endlessly scrolling through someone else's seemingly perfect life online, and then suddenly, just out of nowhere, you feel this massive wave of inadequacy wash over you? Yep, we've all been there. Well, today we're diving into a really powerful ancient fable that brilliantly illustrates exactly why comparing ourselves to others is just a guaranteed recipe for misery. We're going to unpack this whole story of feathers, freedom, and the ultimate psychological trap and see exactly why the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
All right, so jumping right into our first section, the unhappy crow. Let's set the scene.
Picture this. There's a crow perched high up in a tree, and he is just completely, utterly overwhelmed with sadness. A single tear falls, and it actually lands right on the cheek of a wise monk who's meditating quietly below. When the monk looks up and asks what's wrong, the crow's response is honestly just gut-wrenching. He tells the monk he feels despised, unloved, and straight up declares that death would be better than his current existence. So moved by this really profound despair, the compassionate monk offers him a pretty incredible way out. He gives him a special mantra that can transform the crow into absolutely anything he desires. Talk about a magical blank check, right?
Naturally, the crow doesn't hesitate for even a split second. He practically begs to be turned into a beautiful, graceful swan. The monk agrees, but he drops one absolutely crucial condition. Before he does the magic, the crow has to go find a swan and ask if it's actually happy with its life. The monk tells him, "I'll wait right here until you get the answer."
This brings us to section 2, the illusion of better.
So, the crow eagerly tracks down a swan. He is utterly convinced that this pristine, milk-white bird must be the happiest creature alive. He walks up, praises the swan's elegance, but wow, the swan immediately shatters that illusion. To the crow's absolute shock, the swan is miserable. He actually feels that being white is essentially being nothing. He spends his days just bitterly envying the vibrant, colorful parrot.
And right there, you can see how this chain of envy begins. The black crow envies the white swan, and the white swan envies the colorful parrot. It's like a domino effect. So, driven by the swan's dissatisfaction, the crow takes off again. He is entirely certain that this time, the vibrant parrot has got to hold the secret to perfect happiness. He finds the parrot, marvels at its brilliant feathers, but history repeats itself. The parrot reveals a pretty dark reality. Those beautiful colors, they're exactly what make him a target. He lives in this perpetual, exhausting fear of being trapped in a cage by humans simply because he looks nice to them. The parrot tells the crow that true happiness must belong to the peacock, a bird vastly more colorful and stunning than him.
Moving right along into section 3, the price of beauty.
The crow finally reaches the ultimate symbol of avian beauty, the peacock. But wait, he doesn't find him roaming free in some lush, open forest. Instead, the peacock is trapped in a zoo, surrounded by hundreds of gazing humans. The crow is amazed by the massive crowds and approaches the peacock saying, when people see me, they literally shoo me away, but thousands gather just to look at you." At this point, the crow is firmly, 100% convinced he has finally found the absolute pinnacle of happiness.
But here is where the fable delivers its big, tragic twist. The peacock replies with a genuinely heartbreaking confession. His highly coveted beauty, the exact thing everyone else is so incredibly envious of, is the very source of his imprisonment and his immense physical pain. He explains how agonizing it is when people pluck his feathers for decorations. The ultimate symbol of beauty is, in reality, living a total nightmare of permanent captivity.
You can imagine the crow at this point. His entire paradigm just crumbles. He's chased this ever-shifting, impossible illusion of perfection all the way up the ladder, only to find increasing misery and captivity at every single step. Stunned, he asks the suffering peacock a really profound question. Well, if you aren't happy, then who is the happiest bird in the world?
And the peacock confesses something incredible. After carefully observing the zoo day after day, he realized one undeniable fact. The crow is the only bird humans never try to catch. The peacock desperately envies the crow. He daydreams of having the crow's life. The crow's lack of conventional beauty grants him the ultimate, most coveted privilege of all, absolute, unrestricted freedom. It's a complete paradigm shift.
Which brings us to our final section, breaking the comparison trap cycle.
The realization hits the crow like a ton of bricks. He flies straight back to the monk, completely cured of his envy, and happily declares that for the very first time, he is genuinely okay just being a crow. And the monk's final lesson beautifully translates this animal fable to our human experience. When we constantly compare our messy, behind-the-scenes realities to the highly curated highlight reels of others, well, we create a vicious cycle of unhappiness. True joy isn't found by tallying up what you lack, right? It's found in radical satisfaction with what you already have.
So, let's define this core psychological concept we've been talking about, the comparison trap. Essentially, it's the act of ignoring the good in your own life so you can painfully focus on what you don't have. And it's usually based almost entirely on the hidden, caged realities of other people. When you engage in this, you literally guarantee yourself sadness. You're judging your own perfectly valid, perfectly free reality against a totally fabricated illusion of someone else's perfection. It's a game you just can't win.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this to chew on. Are you putting yourself in a mental cage by constantly comparing your life to the illusions of others? Take a moment today, just a quick moment, to consider what everyday freedoms and privileges you might be completely ignoring while you stare longingly at someone else's beautiful but deeply painful cage. Embrace your own freedom. Thanks for exploring this with me today, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.